Hi, everyone. Welcome to our webinar on simplifying infrastructure and workloads with VMware Private Cloud today. My name is Kelly Goolsby. I am a Solution Architecture Director with Liquid Web. And the subtitle here, which is important, is Enabling Partner Success with Growing Your Business Needs. The intent of that, and hopefully it's the audience that this webinar has found, is that we are focusing today on someone who resells a product, right? MSPs, traditional partners, or resellers. And so across all the IT world, and again, I hope we found that audience. There may also be some end clients here, which we're fine with as well. But we are focusing on some of the technical and a lot of the business benefits to moving an infrastructure to VMware Private Cloud and Private Cloud at Liquid Web. So without further ado, we will start. So a little bit about me. My name, again, Kelly Goolsby, Director of Enterprise Sales and Solution Architecture with Liquid Web. I've been at Liquid Web about 3.5 years. I've been in the hosting industry for about 20, working in sales, solution architecture, implementation, training, etc. I don't love the word pioneer, but I am the person who had a lot of success with VMware and the VMware ecosystem of products at a previous provider, and sought to bring that to Liquid Web based on the needs of our clients and where we felt there was a particular value proposition for our clients and for our reseller MSP partners. I do have a passion for helping small business succeed. I told some of this in marketing when I started, and it's kind of followed me around, but I do think it's important, right? I've worked with everything from the smallest client starting with a single small web hosting package up to Fortune 500, and where I really like to work is helping a small business succeed, grow their business, add employees, take it from startup with a handful of people to multiple offices. And I've worked with clients who've done that in the past, and with MSPs and partners who have enabled their clients to do that. So in the webinar, and this is sort of the hook here, what we're going to talk to you about today is 6 reasons why VMware is the go-to solution for MSPs. We do think that's, while controversial, absolutely true. There are a lot of solutions out there, including reselling hardware, the big public clouds. We, in particular, think VMware and the way we've chosen to go to market with it, Liquid Web, is great for MSPs. How to gain the elasticity of the cloud without unpredictable billing is a long one, or minimal support from public clouds like AWS or Azure, right? So we don't, I would say some of the elasticity, right? We want to be able to enable the elasticity that our clients need. Obviously, we're not providing all the elasticity of a giant public hyperscale cloud, but for most of our MSPs and a lot of their end clients, it tends to fit. We also think there is a great value proposition to really, really good support and management and simplified billing. We also quickly, and I've got a slide that talks about how to achieve highly available and redundant infrastructure. Most of that is the work VMware does and the template in which we've chosen to deploy it. Maybe not what all of your end clients are doing, but the way the opinionated architecture in which we deploy VMware at Liquid Web. And finally, why MSPs need to move to VMware Private Cloud, and hopefully with us, we're going to talk about some of the benefits of VMware in general, and then how we support it at Liquid Web. So these are the benefits of moving to the cloud. And if you've been in the industry anytime, these aren't new to you, right? They are the reason your clients are looking at moving to the cloud, and define that broadly, right? That includes infrastructure as a service, software as a service, platform as a service, right? It's not new, and people have been talking about getting out of the data center business since I started. The story of how they get out of it has obviously changed over time, but these reasons sort of remain the same, right? There's a cost and time savings, right? And this story has been told over and over, but it's easier to deploy something programmatically or in someone else's data center than to rack servers, cable servers, etc. Increased security, and I've had this point argued with me many times. And in general, though, a third-party validated data center is going to provide more security than most client data centers. Now, it's not to say that a lot of your end clients aren't doing security correctly, or you as MSPs aren't. We do think there is a great story around the security of a data center that goes through compliance audits. Again, nothing new, We also know that moving to the cloud, whatever form factor that is, frees up resources, right? And that is in client resources, your in client, so that they can work on their business. It also, for MSPs, frees up resources to move up the value chain, right? And to be providing things that keep your client with you and then can up your revenue with those end clients. Flexibility and control. In private cloud in particular, we think gives a lot of the flexibility of public cloud, but can give more control, right, over the underlying infrastructure, under the tool sets used, and in general is a nice meet in the middle between traditional data center, traditional dedicated servers, and a public cloud. Capacity on demand depends. We always, working in solution architecture, we wanted to define how much capacity and what on demand actually means in a quantifiable time period. Certainly when my teams go out to spec an application and find a home for it, there is a certain level of capacity and a certain speed of demand that dictates public cloud, right? Whether that public cloud is at Liquid Web or one of the big three. But we think for a lot of our clients, they want X amount of capacity in a certain amount of time, and VMware and our deployment of VMware meets many of those needs. So as we talk about, again, focusing this webinar on MSPs, managed service providers, we have spent a lot of time talking to MSPs that are currently hosting or have a business relationship with Liquid Web for themselves or their end clients. We're also talking to a good number of MSPs that we do not have a business relationship with. They're just, contacts. The vast majority are hosting some sort of web and database application for their clients, or their clients are, right? Depending on the MSP, they might provide managed services for that application. They might actually resell that software and need a place for it to land, or they might develop custom web database applications, right? ERP, CRM, e-commerce applications, etc. Another subset, and sometimes there's some crossover, they're currently running VMware workloads, right? So some of our MSP clients are managed network and managed support providers. Their end client is already running VMware, and they have adopted support of that VMware and that VMware infrastructure. And so they are considering, as hardware ages out, moving those workloads to a data center like Liquid Web. This one, interesting, MSPs and clients really, who've undertaken a partial cloud migration. Partial is a word a lot of them have done a full cloud migration, right? Maybe not everything, but an entire application. Sometimes an entire data center has moved to the cloud, and there are things that may not work as well or the way they expected them to, or there was a new tool set that needed to be leveraged that wasn't sourced, and so a lot of those clients are moving back. I say back rather than back to their home data center. They want to move to something that looks more like a traditional data center, which often is VMware Private Cloud. We've also worked with a number of MSPs who are seeking to test a migration to the cloud, right? They've got a client, they're not willing to move current workloads to the cloud, but there is a new application being developed, and the MSP and client are willing to move that application to the cloud. So those are just a few of the types of MSPs that are using VMware at Liquid Web today. We know there are a lot more use cases out there, especially in the work from home, the mobility, the internal office applications, and we're seeing more and more of those, as you might expect. So these are some of the reasons why VMware is the go-to solution for MSPs, the go-to cloud solution. Again, high availability and resiliency, kind of out of the box, right? And so our VMware deployment model is always deployed as highly available and resilient. So things like server patching, OS upgrades can be handled, or hardware upgrades, can be handled without downtime for the end client. Intelligent resource management, a bunch of different models, but we find MSPs that want to pull client applications onto a private cloud, or they want to take and do a repeatable deployment model for multiple clients that need the same stack on their own private cloud that they manage and then resell. Increased security, we talked about, security of the data center, security of a staff like Liquid Web's. I also have a slide later that talks about adding other security tools like malware prevention and IDS onto the VMware solution, and those often are resold as a value add for MSPs. Simplified infrastructure, we hinted at earlier on the story of MSPs and their inclines that move back to the cloud. But being able to set up a set of templates and deploy those multiple times in a repeatable footprint for clients, and to do all of that on fewer physical servers, a more simplified network is a big draw for our MSPs. Flexible migrations. We've got a lot of different migration models, and we consult on these all the time. They range from logical migrations. Some of our MSP partners actually do their own, but it might also involve the lift and shift. Depending on the workload of the VMware model, we have multiple migration models available that will help get your end client where they need to be. Again, simplified pricing model. It's something we can get into, but our model is designed around making pricing simple. I've been told by clients and MSPs before that a surprise bill is not good, right? Paying for what you use is nice if you know what you're going to use, but we are seeing more and more that someone doesn't know exactly what they're going to use, and being able to contain pricing to meet budget expectations is very important. So those are just some of the reasons the MSPs we speak to like VMware. They're already familiar with it and don't have to learn a new tool set as well. I don't think it's mentioned here. So the MSP benefits of moving to the cloud, right, whether that's VMware or another solution, is to generate monthly recurring revenue, right? So when I talk to MSPs, a lot have hardware reseller agreements or currently sell, or some don't care, but right, some need to replace lost monthly recurring revenue. We think our programs and our price point offer generous benefits for MSPs that want to partner and move clients to the cloud, whether they resell that infrastructure or pass it on to the client as part of our partner program. Again, able to target businesses of all sizes across all industries who understand the cloud value, right? So we know that not all clients are looking at moving everything to the public cloud, but all clients are generally that we speak to are looking to make a change. We know the overall hosting market is expected to increase at over 20% a year for the next 5 years. And so our VMware products are actually tailored to take advantage of someone who wants to move 20, 30, 40, 50 or more VMs down to the customer that simply has two application and a database server, two database servers and two application servers and a database server. So a very small stack, right? We're able to design a VMware solution that meets all of those needs. We are seeing MSPs who do want to get themselves out of the data center business or managing client data centers, which again, some of our clients do locally. And a lot of those MSPs are able to command higher prices, get stickier clients by providing up the stack services. We also know that some of our MSPs only work on one application for a client, right? They support or sell into one function of a client's business. We know that moving to the cloud for a lot of these MSPs has let them pick up new application workloads from those clients and support them. And finally, solidify relationships with your clients. We want our staff to be an extension of our MSP partner staffs. And so we're able to provide really good support that can be the back end of your relationship with your client, or for a lot of our MSPs, they simply refer their end client over, and then support relationship exists with Liquid Web as well as with your organization. So again, those are some of the MSP benefits of moving to the cloud. So I do have a case study. It's an abstracted case study now from an actual MSP. We're still working to be able to provide names and stuff for them, but they're typically pitched as a managed network services company is how they at least got into business. What they do a lot of though is management of in-house legacy servers, right? Things that are still critical to the businesses they serve, but are deprecated, right? Often or need an extension of life, but are still running a key database, and they support and provide a long tail of support to those servers. Those aren't necessarily easy to move into AWS or Azure. They also do backup and disaster recovery and needed a shared platform in which to provide that disaster recovery space for their clients. And they do some application development and management. What they were finding though is clients closed their data centers and moved, other frontline applications and websites to the cloud, that the applications they supported needed a home, right? And so VMware and the way we deploy VMware made sense for this client in particular, their end clients in this MSP. And so they were able to one, keep the relationship supporting these clients in their legacy systems, but two, to increase revenue, right? And move some other applications into a private cloud hosted with Liquid Web. And they did not have to go learn new technologies, right? They focused on a particular niche in supporting things that, that other companies wouldn't. But they didn't want to go out and learn new tooling to be able to apply that for these clients. So successful MSP started with, a small VMware private cloud, and it's been growing that at about 25% every 6 months. So we are seeing definitely some success there. So this is, we have several different iterations of hosted VMware. This is the sort of reference architecture for our single tenant private cloud. Everything is backed by NetApp storage, 10 gig network. I mentioned sort of our opinionated architecture. We don't deploy a whole lot of VMs on a single server without hardware high availability. So everything is on multiple nodes with DRS and vMotion enabled. And then number supported VMs, obviously to increase that, you just plug a node in and then rebalance VMs. Now, the way as a business that MSPs take advantage of this, the one I just mentioned, actually they maintain and manage the private cloud. They resell space on that to their individual end clients. I've also got a number of MSPs who build this footprint every time and resell it to an individual client, and some that do both, right? We also, I don't have a slide for it yet because it's fairly new. We take this same model and we have a multi-tenant offering, right? Directed initially at maybe a smaller client that only has a couple of VMs or a smaller MSP. We can do that with the full power of VMware VDC and spin up a much smaller footprint, but still take advantage of the highly resilient NetApp storage and multiple server nodes, DRS, vMotion, kind of all the bells and whistles. And so both of those are available, and we fully expect that our clients and MSPs especially may have, needs for both types of VMware hosting. So I did want to talk a little bit about what fully managed means to Liquid Web, and this is just a kind of the tip of the iceberg, but at all levels, our client support is built around a dedicated account executive team. For a lot of our MSPs that I mentioned, they would have their own partner executive team, and then their end client would as well. We keep those the same, or some MSPs, are more in a referral relationship. They refer out. And the client would have, again, a dedicated account team. And that team comes at all levels, right? You don't have a minimum floor of spend to be able to have a dedicated team at Liquid Web. All of our clients have, and MSPs have, access to architects and engineers to help design solutions. We are incredibly flexible on how MSP partners consume that. If you want to simply privately draw on our resources based on a client need, we're happy to do that. If you'd rather us go to market and sell with you, we're happy to do that as well. And we have MSPs that follow both models. We handle deployment and updates for OSs and full VMware support. I also mentioned I've got clients that is part of their business, right? And so in that model, we're flexible. So we can provide full OS support, or you can bring your own VMs, manage them yourselves, and we manage the underlying infrastructure, stack, servers, storage, networking, data center, etc. All of those levels of support include 24/7, 365 live chat, email, and phone support. White glove migrations, right? And so this varies by the workload and by the VMware solution and by what our clients need. Some of our MSP partners do their own migrations, part of their value add. But we will provide implementation assistance up to the point of doing a full migration and final sync, depending on what the need is. We are obviously handling monitoring of the virtualized infrastructure, VMs, OS, and vCenter. And then probably not a big surprise, but any data center at this caliber, 100% network and power uptime SLA. So we've kind of come to the end of the presentation. I've also got a couple questions. I've given this to some MSPs directly, so I've got some questions that I typically get asked. But if you have other questions, my contact information is here. Also, I don't hide my phone number. Happy to give it out. Just shoot me an email. Happy to talk and find out if we might be a fit for any of your client workloads or applications. There are some additional resources here about the product offerings. But as I look at, and I'm going to pull up the other screen here, the template, and I think I've already covered some of this. One of the questions we get a lot, and I hinted at this, is what types of clients are not a fit? Well, I think I mentioned this, that not all are a fit for our VMware offering. Sometimes, we have not gone and done the full hardware stack across all VMware. So if someone has extremely customized hardware needs, GPUs, things like that, we can obviously move to dedicated servers and run a hybrid configuration with those in VMware. Scalability, I hinted at this. There are always clients that, if I need to spin up servers in seconds, not minutes or hours, then we probably need to look at a public cloud API-driven solution. Is it easy to migrate? So that's another question that we just had in this webinar. And I think I mentioned migration. We are trying to leverage the full suite of migration options, right? And that would include things like a cross vCenter migration, or simply, VMware Converter. If it's just sending us, a disk drive or a SAN with all of the VM files, VMDKs, we're happy to do that as well. A lot of our clients look at a logical migration. So all those options are available, and we're happy to consult through my solution architecture team on what makes sense. We also get a lot of questions about licensing. We know that license resale is a key business for a lot of our MSP clients. So a lot of different options are available. OS, we're happy to let you keep reselling OS and software licenses to your end client, and that's not a problem. VMware licensing, often, for our managed stack, we provide the VMware licensing, but we can't provide just infrastructure, right? So if it makes sense that you guys are VMware experts, you just need deployed infrastructure managed correctly, then we're happy to do that as well. So again, a lot of flexibility in our offerings and how we design and how you guys consume them. So those are some of the questions. Again, I'm always open to emails and happy to get them if you have other questions. But if not, that concludes the webinar for today. Thank you all for attending, and any questions, please reach out. Thank you.